Okay, so we just have started with, uh, okay, our recording got started. So let's dive into today's lecture. So what we are essentially going to do today is we are going to essentially look into, uh, a number of classifiers today, hopefully. Okay. Um, so here we are. Just give me a minute. Okay. Okay. In the last class, I hope you remember that we developed a zero hour classifier and another classifier, baseline classifier, from the scratch in Python, right? We did that. Now, it is true that you can, once you understand how each of these algorithms work, you can always, build them from the scratch. But then we have many libraries. We have many machine learning libraries or the data mining libraries where, these classifiers have already been built. So we do not have to build them from the scratch. Okay. So we're going to see hopefully one such tool that we can use in machine learning, and we can see that how easily we can use all these classifiers to do some sort of classifications and stuff like that. Okay, so let's get started with something. Now the first tool that I want you to see is something called a Weka. Now, there is a tool called Weka. Okay, so have you already downloaded Weka? You
Yes.
already, some of you probably have downloaded Weka. If you have not downloaded the Weka, I would advise you to download it now. So all you have to do is click on Weka. Just Google search Weka here, and that the first link will go to the Weka's website. Okay, so this is where we are. So let's look at the website first of all. Let's browse a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to start with Weka, and I'm going to show what really is going to happen. Okay. All right. So what is Weka? Weka is basically a collection of machine learning algorithms for data mining tasks. Okay. So it basically is a tool with various machine learning algorithms in it. Okay. And so all you have to do is you have a data set, and you just select the particular machine learning algorithm on the data set. Okay, tell them how you want to actually evaluate and stuff like that, and Weka would take care of about the training and testing and things like that. It contains tools for data preparation. So data preparation means, like, when you collect the raw data, you may need to actually pre-process the raw data to make it suitable for machine learning algorithms to work on it. Okay? So we need to do some data pre-processing. That's something Weka would help you in. Then you can do different kinds of machine learning tasks like classification. We are currently talking about classification problems, so that's what we're gonna see. Then regression, okay, another supervised learning task, regression, okay, for predicting continuous values. Clustering, it's an unsupervised learning. HRO, there's a lot of interesting other things you can do, like association rule mining and visualization. Now, well, there is some visualization with Weka, but if you have used Python, okay, if you have used Seaborn library, Matplotlib library, and we've spent quite a lot of time on those libraries. Okay? So these visualization in Weka is not is limited. I would rather say it's not as nice as that you can do with Python, like that like using that of Matplotlib library and the Seaborn library. Okay. So whenever you're using different libraries, each library has its own advantage and disadvantage. So the idea is not to just learn one library, just learn a different numbers of libraries. There are many other libraries which I will not be teaching in this course, but feel free to browse them, see which one you like. Sometimes you like certain things in one library, sometimes you like certain other things in some other library. Okay, so you may actually also uh, use different libraries to do different things. So we're gonna see all these things. Okay, are you all listening, Shonaracha? Yeah, can you all
Yes,
hear
sir.
me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, Weka is an open source software issued under GNU General Public License. Okay, that's fine. And to me, if you want to build your own, classifier, for example, Okay, like the way we build the zero hour classifier in from the scratch in Python. Okay, but if you want to do that, you can do that in Weka as well. But you will have to write the program in Java. You need to actually, be able to talk to the API of this Weka. Weka is actually developed in Java, and then you have to do that. Now, in this course, most of the time we will not be actually creating our own classifier, but this is just for saying that if you have an idea and you want to build it and test it, you can also do that. Okay, all right. Weka also supports deep learning, but deep learning is not something that we are going to cover in this course a lot. Maybe we'll have an introductory discussion on what deep learning is, but we will not go deep in deep learning. Is that okay? So Weka is a good enough tool, so we can start looking into the data, into this Weka. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to go to the download section, okay, and just find out the operating system that you're using, and just download it. That's it. It's straightforward. Just download it and then install it in your machine, and you're fine. Is it clear, Nakana? Yeah. Okay. So those who do not have Weka, I strongly advise you to actually download and install Weka. Okay, that's there. Okay, now what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to discuss like how you can use Weka so quickly and easily to actually do different kinds of forecasting. So once you have downloaded Weka, for example, in my machine, I already have downloaded Weka. So all I have to write is I have to write Weka. That's it. Okay, in the start menu, and we have the version that I have installed is Weka 3.8.5. Okay, so let me just click on that. So once I click on that, okay, it actually came in here. This is the Weka. Okay, right? Okay. Weka stands for Waikato Environment for Knowledge Analysis. That's what it stands for. Weka. WEKA. Clear? Is that okay? Awesome. Now, Weka happens to be also like Waikato Environment for Knowledge Analysis. So, this library was built by in the computer science department of a university called Waikato. So from that, it's Waikato. Waikato is a university in New Zealand. Okay, all right. And interestingly, it turns out that the Weka also happens to be a kind of bird. Okay, that is found in New Zealand. Okay, so it's a very interesting flightless bird. So it cannot fly. So it's something that you find in New Zealand as well. So that's another meaning of Weka. Anyway, but Weka stands for really Waikato Environment for Knowledge Analysis. Anyway, we good, right? So far, that's a quite good enough introduction to what Weka is. Now, what we would like to do is we would like to start with Weka. Okay, so I'm going to close that browser. Okay, all right. Now here we are. So the first thing that we do, you'll see if you look at this one, Weka, you don't have to do any kind of programming, unless, of course, if you are actually building your own classifier. That's different. Other than that, you will never have to write any programming here. Okay, you don't have to program anything over here. You're going to simply it's totally GUI based. Okay, all right. So you're gonna select the appropriate thing, and that's it. Okay. So let's just go inside the Weka and see different things we have over here. So I'm just going to start look at over here. On your right panel over here, you have got 5 buttons over here: Explorer, Experimenter, Knowledge Flow, Workbench, Simple, CLI, Command Line Interface. Okay. Now, out of these 5 options you have, most of the times we will be using this Explorer and Experimenter. Explorer is used a lot of times, as well as Experimenter. Knowledge Flow, Workbench, and Simple CLI আমি এই কোর্সে আমাদের দরকারই নেই, ঠিক আছে? These 2 are good enough options for our job. Okay, আচ্ছা, so let's see. Of course, if you are happy to explore a little bit and you want to know what these are, go ahead. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Explorer one. Okay, I'm going to select the Explorer button. Okay, let me do that. So once I do that, what happens is another window pops up. Can you see that? All of you are there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in this window, the very first thing you should see, আচ্ছা এটা কি দেখা যাচ্ছে আপনাদের স্ক্রিনে কি ভালোভাবে দেখতে পাচ্ছেন নাকি না? Can you all see
Yes,
that
sir.
well? Okay. আচ্ছা, in this particular window, you'll see that there are a couple of tabs over here. Now the first tab that we are in is the pre-process tab. Then there is another tab called classify tab, and cluster tab, associate tab, select attributes tab, visualize tab. Now, each of the tab has its own purpose. So in the first, when you when I select the Explorer, button, you come to this window with the pre-process tab. Now, pre-process tab, you're gonna actually at least select the file and do the pre-processing as well. মানে আমার ব্যক্তিগত my you know personal choice for pre-processing is actually not Weka. It's actually, using the Python. Okay, so that's much easier. Okay, and then of course you can do one thing. You can do all the pre-processing in Python. Okay, download this. Okay, download the CSV file. After you've downloaded the CSV file, now you can open it up in Weka and can work on the Weka. Is that okay, Nakina? Clear? So you can mix up your tools. Is that okay, Nakina? Yeah. You can do pre-processing in Weka as well, no doubt, of course. But that was just my personal choice. But you can do same pre-processing in Weka as well, no problem. Okay. So let me show you what you should do. The very first thing that you should do is you should open a file. Okay. You must select your data set. Okay. So here you have a button called open file. So you click on open file and you should be able to go to the relevant place where you have your file. So I'm at already there are some data file that comes with Weka, so I'm going to use that. Okay, so I think Weka was installed in C program files, and I think, can you see Weka 3.8.5? Okay, this is where it is. Okay, so wow, let's just click. Unbelievable. Just a minute. Once again, open file, C program files, Weka 3.1.5. And then we have something called data. So let me show you over here what happens. So I go to C program files, and there you go. I've got my Weka over here. So I go to Weka 3.8.5. And there is a folder called data. And here is a certain data set that it comes up with. Okay? Of course, you can collect your own data and you can use that as well. Sure. Is that okay, Nakina? These are some of the data set that Weka comes up with. So let me use one of those data sets. So now there is a data set called the Iris data set. So let me start with the Iris data set. Do you know what's Iris? Iris data set, Iris কি?
Flower.
আচ্ছা, আমরা একটা কাজ করি, আইরিস ডেটা সেট না ইউজ করে একটা ডেটা সেট ইউজ করি যেটা আমরা আগে দেখেছি, ওয়েদার ডেটা সেট আমরা কাজ করেছিলাম। Yes, did we not work on the weather data
Yes.
set? Okay, so let me pick up the weather data set. So there is দুইটা weather data set আছে, weather dot nominal আর weather dot numeric. আমরা weather dot nominalটা নিব, numeric-টা না, ঠিক আছে? Numeric-টা is slightly different data set. Okay, so I'm going to select over here, go to data folder. I'm going to select weather dot nominal. Okay. Now look at this very interesting thing. All these data sets you have, what is the extension of this data set? What is then this is the ARF file. So Weka's preferred data set is in the ARF format. ARFF. ARF means attribute relation file format. We'll come to that. But it is in the ARF format. ARF format কি ধরনের ফরম্যাটে থাকে, we'll talk about these things. Okay, so let's just select weather dot nominal. Okay, so we have selected that. That's it. So the data is loaded, so you can see certain things. Okay, so the first thing that you see is here. Look at this place over here, attribute. Now we have got certain attributes here. Okay, outlook, temperature, humidity, windy, and play. মনে আছে না? এরকম একটা অ্যাট্রিবিউট ছিল, ইয়েস নাকি না? হ্যাঁ,
Yes, sir.
acha. If you click on edit, I'm not going to edit it, but let me just click on the edit just to see the data set. Okay, I could edit it over here, but I don't want to edit anything right now. So you can see over here, outlook, okay, temperature, humidity, windy, and play. And so for each of these, you have got these are the instances. So how many instances do we have here so far?
40.
14 instances. Okay? So for example, for the first instance we have, outlook was sunny, the temperature was hot, humidity was high, it was windy, and okay, the person did not play outside, did not go outside to play the golf. ঠিক আছে, আচ্ছা, আরো মজা দেখা দিয়ে দেখেন, প্লেটাকে বোল্ড করা আছে। Why is it bold?
Target.
This is the target attribute. Of course, it's a question. Yeah, how does it know that this is the target attribute? We'll talk about that. Okay. All right. But the remaining are not target attribute. So if I want, I can add an instance. I can go ahead and change anything if I like. I don't want to do anything right now. Okay. So I'm going to close that. So you can see that when you click on open file, you should be able to open the data set. Is that okay, Nakina? Are we good? Yeah. Is that fine? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you might say at this stage, but so far all the data set আমরা কাজ করছি, these were all what CSV file, but these are now in R file. Can we not actually open up a CSV file? Okay, let's see. So if we come over here, if we go to the data set over here, we have, let's say we have the weather data set over here. So let me actually download this weather data set. Okay. So this weather data set is in, okay, what's wrong with you now? Okay, I don't want to open it, I was just going to download it.
স্যার কন্ট্রোল ক্লিক করলে ডাউনলোড অপশন আসবে।
You don't have to click on that. Okay, it's getting downloaded. Okay, great, excellent. All right, so we just have downloaded the CSV file here. Okay, I think the CSV file is in my download section. That is true. Okay, I'll just copy this one, cut this one, and put it in my desktop for the time being. Okay, so let's see, what if we try to actually open up a CSV file. Okay, so let's say we don't want it. So I want to open a file. So let's say I want to go to the desktop, weather.csv. Okay, so we want to go there. So desktop, we go to the desktop. And then, okay, so we go to the desktop, but we don't see anything because we are selecting the R file. So what we can do is I can say, okay, find out the CSV files. And so I can see my weather.csv. Can you see that, Nakina? Okay, I can also open this one out, and now I see the weather.csv file. Is that okay, Nakina? Clear? Yes. So I can also work with my CSV file. So if you go to the edit tab now, this is my edit tab as well. Okay. So this is the one that's from the CSV file that I have got. Is that okay? Yes. Are we good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. Fair enough. So we can load a file. Okay. So we can work on the R format. We can work on the CSV format as well. So that's not an issue. After we have taken that, যদি আপনারা কোনো ধরনের pre-processing করতে চান, there's something called filter, but I'm not going to cover this one because I usually do all the pre-processing in the Python. So that you'll see when I discuss the Python stuff. How do we do different kinds of pre-processing? Okay. So, but if you're interested, you can see different kinds of filters. There's certain things called filters we have. We use the filters to do different kinds of things. Okay, so for example, I can discretize something. I can actually do lots of things. You can actually browse it, but right now I'm not actually I'm going to cover this filter one. Okay, now let's say I want to do classification. Okay, I want to classify. So I go to the classification folder. It's a tab. So if we're solving the classification problem, go to the classify tab. Is that okay? All right, so we come to the classify tab. Now, in the classify tab, the very first thing that you should do is first of all, well, there's a lot of things you do. First of all, you over here you have got, you see it's written classifier. You can select what classifier you're going to use. Let's say if you are the default classifier you see over here is 0R, right? But if you want to select something else, click on choose, and here you got lots of different sorts of classifiers, like 0R is there, 1R is there. Then there are other things, decision table, JREAP, and all these things. You can say these are rule-based classifier, although 0R is not really a rule-based classifier. 0R basically it's a baseline classifier, but they put it in Weka, they put it under the rules folder. Okay, so in this way you can see there are so many kinds of classifiers. Like you go to under base, you get BaseNet, knife based classifier. Okay, now some of the classifiers you see are grayed out because from the data set it knows that this classifier is not a suitable classifier for this sort of data set. Okay, so Weka actually figures this out. Then there's something called a lazy classifier, and then we've got a couple of classifiers here as well. IBK stands for instance based classifier. That's also called the K-nearest neighbor classifier. If we have time, we'll talk about that today. K-star classifier, LWL classifier. Then we have got different kinds of classifiers, miscellaneous classifiers. We have got here under the functions, logistic regression. Okay, it's a logistic classifier, right? Okay, if we just click on that, hover on this, you'll see it's written something about it. There's some modifications, however, compared to the paper, blah blah blah. You can see certain things. The simple logistic regression. Okay, you can just read a little bit about what is this about voted perception, SMO. Okay, right? All right. The SMO is a support vector machine. Okay, we'll talk about this sort of things. Okay, SVM classifier. So we have a range of classifiers that you can use. Okay, so let me use the 0R classifier right now. Okay, so just to show you how can we apply the 0R classifier. So let's say we chose a 0R classifier. Now let's say when you chose a classifier, you want to know a little bit, just click on that. So when you click on that, it says what does a 0R classifier do. Classes for building and using 0R classifier. Okay, class for building and 0R classifier. Okay, so you can read about its capabilities and stuff like that if you're interested. Okay, you can click on more and you'll learn about what 0R classifier is. Okay, so you can read different kinds of things, different kinds of stuff that you can do. Okay, the classifier has certain parameters you can play with, like batch size, debug, blah blah blah, and what each of these things actually mean, you can actually read it from here, and if you need to change, you can change it. In most of the cases, I don't need to change anything, so I keep it as it is, the default values. Is that okay, Nakina? A together selection of the classifier. Once I've selected the classifier, the question is, how am I going to train it? Okay, now there are a number of ways I can train and test. After I could do, I can take the entire data set, divide the data set into two parts, training set and test set. So immediately if I select this option, percentage split, then I'm actually saying 66% of the data are in the training set, the rest are in the test set. Okay, I can click on more options to see more interesting things you have. Okay, I hardly look at that. Then there is something called cross validation, 10-fold cross validation. You can change it 5-fold cross validation, whatever. You can do those sort of things. But right now, today, we are not going to make things difficult for us, because we'll talk about what are these options, what do these options mean, and we'll see them in a separate class. Okay. Also, you could just do, if you can select use training set. Use training set, it's not a very useful one, but use training set means you take the entire data set, okay, that you have selected here. Okay, you take the entire data set, okay, and then test it. Okay, the test option is you use the training set, the entire data set that you have used, use that as a test set as well. Ideally, that's something we do not want to do. Do you remember this, Nakina? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So we do not want to do that. Another way to do that is you create a model with the training set. So always the model is created using this data set that you provided. Okay. So immediately use train set data, test option to use train set. The data that I supply, okay, it uses the data to create the model, and it tests using that training set that you have used to train the model as well. Okay, so that's the first option. Second option called supply test set. What we do over here is train set the train column into you give a different test set. So you can actually click on this and you can actually then open the file and provide a test set for that as well if you select this option. Then there is a third option called K4 cross validation. We'll talk about that upon. Fourth option is percentage split, where you take the data set and divide into two parts, train set and test set. You just say, what is the percentage over here? How much percentage do you choose for train set? How much is for test set, right? Yeah. And then train set use kore she model create korbe ar test set use kore she test korbe, and it will report how is the performance. Is that okay? Did you understand what are the different options we have?
Yes, sir.
Good. So just to keep things simple, right, for the time being, I'm going to select the first option. Although later on you'll see that the first option is not something that I prefer, okay? Because it's not going to give me a very reliable answer. It's going to give me a very biased answer. So that's I've selected. Okay, the next one. Here you have to select which one is your target variable. So all the attributes, which one you want to select as the targets. I want to select the play as the target one. Is that right, Nakina? Clear? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Once we have done so, just click on start and your job is done, finished. You don't have to do anything. Okay? All right. So let's see what it has figured out. Okay? So first of all, if you read this one, let's see the output over here. Evaluation on the training set. So it evaluated on the training set. So because you chose using training set, so your test set is the entire training set, is right? So evaluation on the training set. The time taken to test the model on the training data was 0 seconds, but that means actually it's fast, no problem with the timing. How many instances we had altogether? 14, right? Out of 14 instances, correctly we have classified 9 of them. মনে আছে আমরা যখন 0 আর করেছিলাম 9টা কারেক্টলি ক্লাসিফাই করেছে, খেয়াল আছে? 5টা ইনকারেক্টলি করেছে, মনে আছে?
Yes, sir.
Now you can see that it actually figured that out. 9 of them are correctly classified, 5 of them are incorrectly classified. And there are some other things over here. These are not something we are interested in, especially in case of classification problem. But if you are interested just to know what these are, feel free to do it on your own. Kappa statistics, mean absolute error, and all these things. A absolute error, actually they are more relevant for regression type of problem. But anyway, now you can see some more interesting things as well. You can find out what's the TP rate. TP means true positive rate. We'll talk about these things later on. False positive rate, precision, recall, F measure, এগুলো কি আমরা জানবো, MCC, rock area, ঠিক আছে, area under the rock curve, okay, PRC area, ঠিক আছে, okay, this is called the precision recall curve. We will see that, okay. So what these measures are এবং এগুলো মানে কি, এগুলো আমরা দেখবো. So it finds out all these sort of things, and it also finds out correctly classified instances 9 out of 14. That means your accuracy is 64.2857%. And this is something we already know. We had an accuracy of 64.2857% for this data set using a 0 atlas ware. Mone ache na ki na? Yes? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So these are the things we'll discuss in some other classes. So don't worry about these things are right now. We will discuss them. And also, not very nice, but it's okay. There's a very basic confusion matrix they have also drawn. Yes or no? Okay. So out of the confusion matrix, you have to figure out kunta model er jonno chilo ar kunta year jonno chilo, actual value er jonno chilo. But you can figure it out, I guess. Yes or no? Okay. So you can see a little bit of confusion matrix as well. Are we good? So with a 0 hour classifier, what is the accuracy you have received? How much is the accuracy that you got? 64.29%, let's say. Let's say right now the only measure that we are interested in is accuracy, but in reality আমরা আরো কিছু দেখবো, তাই না, অনেক ক্লাসিফায়ার। এখন ধরো you want to use a different classifier and you want to see how does it work on a different classifier. Yeah, well, fine, just choose it. So you're going to click on the choose button. Let's try out 1 hour this time. So if I try out 1 hour, just press the start. Now you see, it's really nice. এটা rules based classifier, rules 1 hour. আর আমি এখানে গেলে 0 hour result, এটা 1 hour result. With 1 hour, I got an accuracy of 71 point. So আমি একটু উপর থেকে দেখি. So let's see these things. We get a lot of things with 1 hour. So 1 hour run information. Okay, these are the things. 1 hour classifier use করা হচ্ছে on the weather data set. 14 instances are there. There are 5 attributes, including the target attribute. Test mode taki, what is the test mode? That the test option that we have selected. Evaluate on the training data. So we're evaluating on the training data. Training data jeta ache seta pore test kora hocche. This is not ideally we would like to do, but right now for the time being we have done this. ঠিক আছে? Okay. Second, classifier model. Okay. আচ্ছা, one আরে কি করে মনে আছে না? যে it finds out one of the predictors that efficiently figures it out. খেয়াল আছে না? একটা appropriate predictor বের করে যেটা দিয়ে একটা rule develop করে। খেয়াল আছে? Remember? So
Yes, sir.
yeah, I hope. So they use this one hour জন্য. They found out the winning attribute is the outlook, and the rules are if it's sunny, then it's no. If it's overcast, then it's yes. Rainy, yes. This is the exact thing that we saw in the class as well. You remember? Okay. And when we used this rule, we found that 10 out of 14 instances were correct. Okay. That's why the accuracy 9 out of 14 and 10 out of 14. So the accuracy was slightly bit better. Okay. Something is very wrong with my arms anyway. Okay, so if we come over here now, let's see what else it says. The time taken to build a bundle is 0 seconds. 0 second means actually 0 second, but it means just it's good enough. It's fast enough. Okay. Correctly classified instances, 10 out of 14. So that means I had an accuracy of 71.4286%. Incorrectly classified instances are 4, the remaining 4. So this is the error we have, 28.57% error. That's quite a lot of error, to be honest. And also, if we go down, you should be able to see other details. So এগুলো নিয়ে আমরা পরে কথা বলবো, তার জন্য আজকে আর দেখছি না what is precision, what's recall, what is the rock area. We'll see that, and that's the confusion matrix. Clear na? Is that okay? So we can run different sorts of classifiers and we can see what these are. Okay. Right click করলে কিছু পাওয়া যায়. Right click করলে there's a lot of things you have. So we'll probably talk about these things. There's something called you can visualize something called margin curve, threshold curve. ঠিক আছে? Okay. There's a lot of things. So let's say threshold curve. Yes. Okay. We see some sort of curves. This is a rock area. ঠিক আছে? Okay. কিসের against কিসের rock area. So এগুলা নিয়ে আমরা কথা বলবো পরে. So we can do lots of very interesting things. Okay, are we good? Okay, now so far so good. Okay, so similarly now you can play with it, okay, and try out different things. Okay, all right. So let's see. Okay. আমি একটা অন্য ধরনের rule based ছাড়াও একটা tree based classifier use করি. Now we're going to hopefully start discussing about this tree from the next class. It's going to take us a bit of time. This is called decision tree. One of the decision tree classifiers we have is called the J48. That's built over here. Okay, so I can select the J48. Okay, and then if I press start, it actually finds out the accuracy. How much is the accuracy now? What is the accuracy you got?
100%.
100% accuracy আসলে খুবই alarming, ঠিক আছে? But it's because I use the train set. আমি যদি train set এই অপশনটা না ইউজ করে অন্য কোনো অপশন ইউজ করতাম, let's say for example cross validation, I would get much reduced accuracy. But anyway, so decision tree is an interesting classifier. We're going to discuss about the decision tree later on, but let me show you. There is a reason I like decision tree, because you can visualize the tree. And so when I click on it, it actually figures out how do we make the decision. Outlook. First thing that we look at is outlook. Outlook যদি sunny হয়, then check. Humidity যদি normal হয়, তাহলে it is yes. ঠিক আছে? Outlook যদি sunny হয়, but humidity যদি high হয়, then it's no. Outlook যদি overcast হয়, it's yes. Outlook যদি rainy হয়, then you check the windy. Okay? Windy যদি if it's false, then yes. Windy যদি true হয়, it's no. So you see, it creates a decision tree, the way you make a decision as well. Is that right, Nakina? We'll discuss how. এটা তো just, ওয়েকা ইউজ করলেন বা অন্য কোন লাইব্রেরি ইউজ করে টাক টাক করে করে দিল, বাট we need to learn how does it do that. The algorithm is the fun part, তাই না? That's the core of machine learning, ঠিক আছে? It's not how do you use Weka to actually use a decision tree. It's about learning how to actually create a decision tree on your own, understanding decision tree, understanding different classification algorithms, stuff like that. But I just wanted to show you how does a decision tree look like, because that's something we gotta discuss after today's class. Hopefully in the next class we'll discuss about that. Okay, is that good enough, Nakina? Are we fine? Yes. ঠিক আছে? So did you understand Weka use করে আমি কি করতে পারি? আমি Weka use করে I can actually select a data set, and then we can run different sorts of classification algorithm or other things like clustering, something that we haven't started, so I'll not look into that. Association analysis, then this something like select attribute, this is feature selection. We'll talk about this as well. Visualize, well, you can do some visualization, but I usually don't like their visualization much. But of course you can find certain interesting things from there as well. Okay, all right, are we good enough so far? এখন the next thing that I would like to discuss is the ARF file. Weka's preferred file format is which one? Which is Weka's preferred file format? ARF. So let's see, what does this ARF format mean? Okay, what does this ARF file mean? So আমরা একটা কাজ করি. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to close the Weka. ঠিক আছে? Yes. Okay. So let me close this one as well. Yes, done. Okay. So let's come over here. আমরা weather.nominal.arf ফাইলটা প্রথম দেখেছিলাম না? Yes, নাকি না? Yeah. Now I want to see the ARF data file format কেমন হয়. How does it look like? ঠিক আছে? So I can right click on this, and let's do one thing. Let's open it with Notepad. So if you open it with Notepad, we can see what's happening here. So you see over here, we have something interesting over here going on. Look, the way we have done at relation. So first of all, we have a name for this one. Namta decho weather dot symbolic. Am I clear, Nakina? Is that okay? The name is what? Weather dot symbolic. Acha, itu abar wekata open kori, tahole we can relate this one. Let's open it up. Okay, forget that. Explorer tab. Open file. Let's say আমি ARF ফাইলটা এখন খুলি, ঠিক আছে? Let's open the ARF file. ঠিক আছে? So I go to C drive, I go to program files, I go to Weka 3.8.5, I go to data, and this is the nominal one, right? So I select that. Do you see over here relation দেখা যায় weather.symbolic? So we give a relation name for that particular data set, and let's call it weather.symbolic. So that's the first thing that we give it. Okay, next one, attribute কটা আছে? Altogether কটা attribute আছে আমাদের এখানে data set এ? How many attributes are there? Look at this. How many attributes are there? 5 attributes, including the target attribute. Is that right, Nakina? So there are 5 attributes. So you have to specify what are the attribute names. So this is the next thing that we have done. So the first attribute we have is outlook. So যেভাবে তোমার CSV তে থাকবে এক্স্যাক্টলি, বা যেভাবে ডেটাটা থাকবে এক্স্যাক্টলি সেভাবে। এমন না যে আগে আউটলুক আছে কিন্তু তুমি টেম্পারেচার আগে দিচ্ছ। No, exactly in the same way. So first attribute is the outlook attribute, and the possible values of that outlook attribute are sunny, overcast, and rainy. Okay. Second attribute we have got is the temperature attribute, and the values that we have are hot, mild, and cold. So these are the options we have. Third attribute we have is the humidity, and their possible values are high and normal. Fourth attribute we have is the windy, and the possible values are true and false. And the fifth attribute is plain, and the possible values are yes and no. Is that okay, Nakina? Clear? Are we good? Hello? Very good. So we have defined what the attributes are. Then we would write at data. So then we have the data. So the first instance we have, The outlook, temperature, humidity, windy, play. So the outlook is sunny, the temperature is hot, the humidity is high, the windy is false, and play is no. ঠিক আছে, এইভাবে সবকটা ডেটা এরপর একটা একটা করে দেখাচ্ছে। Is it clear নাকি না? ঠিক আছে? Are you okay? Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
So this is basically how the R format is. ঠিক আছে, তো তোমার ডেটা সেটে যেভাবে থাকবে সেটা R format লিখতে হলে this is how it should be written. Are we good নাকি না? Clear? আচ্ছা, আরেকটা দেখি just as an example. So let me just see one more example just to have a good idea. So let's say Aris নামের একটা আছে. So don't worry about what is it right now. So I'm going to say open with, I'm going to open with Notepad. So percentage, these are comments. So you don't have to worry about the comments here. Okay. So there's a lot of comments about this data set. Only comment about it. So if you want to know a little bit about the data set, you can, just go ahead and read them. Okay, but I'll just go straight into here. Okay, so the first thing is at relation. At a relation নাম দিতে হবে. The relation name is Iris. Okay. Yes. Okay. Relation name is the Iris. Attribute কটা আছে? পাঁচটা। Sepal length, sepal width, petal length, petal width, and last হচ্ছে class attribute. Okay. Sepal length value কি আছে? Real. Real মানে কি? এটা মানে হচ্ছে real number. Numeric value. যে কোনো numeric values. Any numeric values. So if it's just any numeric values, so it's real. So as an example, if you want to just see how it looks like, so if I click on open file, okay, if I click on Iris and then click on edit, you can see sepal and these are all numeric values. Sepal with numeric values, petal and numeric values, petal with numeric values. This is the class. Is it clear? Are we good? Yes. So numeric values could be any numeric values. So if it is any numeric value, so this is how we're gonna write it. Okay, I'm going to say real. Sepal width, numeric value is real. Petal width, real. Petal length real, petal width real, and class, it can be Iris setosa, Iris versicolor, or Iris virginica. And then add data there, all the data is given. Is it clear? Yes. আমাদের কি এখন ক্লিয়ার হয়ে গেল যে আমাদের আর ফরম্যাটটা কিরকম দেখতে? Is that okay?
Yes.
So your Weka can handle CSV file, no problem. But it is most preferred one format হচ্ছে the R format. That's the whole thing. এখন CSV file থাকলে এটা কাজ করবে, কোনো অসুবিধা নেই. You don't need to worry about this. Okay? But for some reason, তুমি যদি R format কাজ করতে চাও, how would you do that? So let me show you that. Okay? So are you guys তোমাদের সবাই Jupyter notebook তো আছে না? Right? Do you guys have the Jupyter notebook open? Can you open the Jupyter notebook? Everybody? Yeah? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me open my Jupyter notebook as well at the same time. So here's the Jupyter notebook. Okay. All right, so we're opening it up. So I'm going to my preferred section Python. Let's go to teaching folder. Okay. So there's something I already did that. So I just wanted to show you. Okay. কোনো কারণে if it is so happens যে তুমি R format কাজ করতে চাও, so let me show you how you can do that. Okay, so the very first thing I do, I want you to actually try this one. And after the weather data set, that's enough. Do you have the weather data set? Okay, download the weather data set in the same folder or keep it in the same folder. So the very first thing I do is I want to read the weather data set. So I want to, for reading the weather data set, I need to use pandas data frame. So I need to import pandas. So the very first thing is I import pandas. So I have imported the pandas as PD. And if I want to read the data set, so this is how I'm going to read it. df equals to pd.read CSV. So I'll do that. df equals to pd.read CSV, and there is no problem. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to come over here. Don't worry about these lines. I'll come over here. Now we've got df.head. So if in case I want to see that df.head, I click on that df.head. And I can see over here. Okay, these are my first 5 instances over here: Outlook, temperature, humidity, wind, and play. Okay, and now what are the columns name? The columns names are this, but if you want to print out the columns name, all you have to write is df.columns, and if I do so, these are the column names: Outlook, temperature, humidity, windy, and play. Okay, and if I click on df.values, what it's going to do is it's going to find out all the data set values করে সে এখানে মানে প্রিন্ট আউট করবে। ইজ দ্যাট ওকে নাকি না? ক্লিয়ার? আর উই গুড? হ্যালো?
Yes.
আচ্ছা, now I'm going to use something called arf.dump. If I say arf.dump, okay, all right, okay, and these are the things I have to give. What are these? The first thing is যে arf ফাইলটা বানাবো, লেটস আমি CSV ফাইল নামে arf ফাইল বানাতে চাই। যে arf ফাইলটা বানাবো সেটার নাম, সো সেটার নাম আমি দিলাম weather.arf। তুমি যদি অন্য কোনো নাম দিতে চাও দিতে পারো। df.values, df.values মানে all the values, তার মানে these are the data। মনে আছে arf ফরম্যাটে কি কি লাগবে? You have to have the name of the data file. Okay, you have to have all the values. You need to specify what's the relation name, so I'll give the relation name as the next one. I give it as weather, and I have to give the names of all the attributes. So all the attributes are in a df.columns, so all the attributes are there, so আমি just এখানে দিলাম names হচ্ছে df.columns. Is that clear নাকি না? So when I actually now do that, it's going to give me an error. The reason it's going to give me an error is you actually need to, it doesn't know what is arf. What you need to do is you need to actually import the arf, and the way you do it is this one: import arf. So when you import arf, it has imported that. Okay, and now if you try this one out, I'll show you, it should actually create this one. Okay, so if I go I think if we go to C users, আমার এটা কোথায় ছিল? Users, I think ASUS, Python code, teaching, and then এই যে এখানে দেখছেন এই যে এই R ফাইলটা তৈরি গেছে। If I want to delete that R file, let me delete that. I've deleted that R file, but if I just go over here and just come over here and then run that, once I've run that, you see we've created that R file. Is that okay? So you can actually very easily create an R file as well. So এটা হচ্ছে just to answer যেটা আপনার কাছে যদি কোনো CSV file থাকে, so the file that we had, the CSV file, but you know you wanted to you wanted to do some pre-processing, you wanted to do some data visualization, you do everything on Python, and then you want to use the machine learning, Weka machine learning library. But so Weka machine learning library will be able to handle files in CSV or Excel, no problem. But its preferred format is ARF. But if you want to convert it to ARF, that's it. This is one line code to convert it into ARF. Is that okay? That's the best way. Now, if you want, ঠিক আছে, I could have just like read the entire data set. I can create a function and that would which would convert it into ARF. I could do that, but I don't need to do that. There's one line code that I can use it. Acha. Now, have you tried this out? If you try this out, it may still give an error. It may still give an error in your, notebook. And the reason for behind that is এখানে যে arf.dump, when you have imported the arf file, you need to be sure that your arf library has been installed in your Jupyter notebook. ঠিক আছে? How do you know it's installed in your Jupyter notebook or not? The way you install it is you go over here. Look at this carefully. I'm going to write Anaconda, and I'm going to go to the Anaconda prompt. So if you go to the Anaconda prompt, so this is the Anaconda prompt that comes up. And then I'm going to write something called conda list. Look at what I wrote. Conda space list. And if I press enter, okay, all right, give it a little bit of time. Okay, now you see what it has done. It has actually listed out all those, I'm sorry, it's kind of mouse was it has listed all those libraries that has been actually installed in your Anaconda. So for example, আমরা কি কি ইউজ করি দেখেন, say আমরা যেমন pandas use করি, so if you go over here, pandas P. Okay, so can you see pandas here? Can you see? Okay, so we have the pandas installed, and not only you can see আমার machine pandas installed, I can see the version of the pandas that has been also installed. Okay, so আমরা যে এতদিন ধরে pandas as pd লিখছি, ঠিক আছে? Okay, we could work on that because pandas is installed here. Okay, আচ্ছা, matplotlib আমরা এতদিন matplotlib use করছি because it's installed here, and matplotlib versionটা হচ্ছে 3.3.4. you can see that over here. Okay, আমরা seaborn use করেছি, so I'm sure if you go down you'll be able to see seaborn as well. So if I come here, can you see seaborn? Yeah, I can. And this is the version of seaborn 0.11.1. This is the version that we are using. ঠিক আছে? Okay, আপনারা একটু ভালো করে দেখবেন, if we go up a little bit. Okay, আচ্ছা, একটু বলে রাখি NLTK, anyone knows what is NLTK library? This is মানে যখন Anaconda ইনস্টল করা হচ্ছে তখন অনেকগুলো লাইব্রেরি নিয়ে ইনস্টল করা হয়েছে, যেমন NLTK একটা লাইব্রেরি. So if you just want to know what is an NLTK library, for example, just Google search NLTK. Okay, so when I do that, it's a natural language toolkit. ঠিক আছে? তারপরে NLP নিয়ে যদি কোনো কাজ করতে চান, this is the library that this is one of the libraries, মানে it's a very popular library in fact. ঠিক আছে? And right now at this moment যদি কারো natural language processing নিয়ে কাজ করার কোনো ইন্টারেস্ট থাকে বা কিছু, yeah, you can start working. There is an NLTK library, start learning about natural language processing, start using that library, ঠিক আছে, in Python, and it'll be done. ঠিক আছে? Okay, in my machine, if you look at here, the one that I want to show you over here, let's go quickly. In my machine, if you go over here, you see that interestingly আমার এই মেশিনে arf বলে একটা লাইব্রেরি কিন্তু এখানে ইনস্টল করা আছে. Can you see that arf? Yes, I can now. Okay, now in your machine arf may not be installed. It may not be মানে I don't think it's installed মানে ডিফল্ট ইনস্টলেশন ইয়ে হিসেবে লাইব্রেরি হিসেবে এটা থাকে না. ঠিক আছে? সো arf may not be installed. arf যদি ইনস্টল না থাকে তাহলে কি করবেন, এই যে when you come to this Anaconda prompt, all you have to write, I will not write it, I will not do that because it is installed over here already, but I'll show you what you have to do. Okay, so come on, hit this one. Okay, all you have to write, let's create some more space. Okay, yeah, pip, look at this, pip install, and let's say you want to install arf, so I'll say arf, and let me just try it and see what happens. So if I already have it installed, let me see what happens. Okay, so that's it. It just says that the requirement is already satisfied because arf is already installed. So because we are using this library called the arf library, okay, all right, you're importing arf, you need to install it. This is a command to install it, pip install arf. Now you can do that in pip install here as well in the Jupyter notebook. All you have to write is this exclamation sign pip install arf. Okay, but I commented it out because I don't want to install it. Installation একবার করলেই হয়, ঠিক আছে? But if you see it over here, the other way is just open up the Anaconda prompt and write down pip install arf, ঠিক আছে? And that will install that arf library. I hope that makes sense, right, Nikina? Clear? Are we good?
Yes.
Yeah, so any questions so far? So far, what we have discussed is how you can use the Weka, how you can use different machine learning, classification algorithms from Weka. And Weka's preferred file format is the R file. Well, Weka also works on CSV file, so that's also fine. But I also have shown you that the R file কাজ করতে যাও, but you're doing the initial visualization and other things in Python using and you're using different libraries like Matplotlib and Seaborn because Python is great for those sort of things, for visualization and stuff. Okay, so you've done that, but for some reason তুমি CSV file করতে চাও না, তুমি R formatting করতে চাও. Now I've also shown you how can you convert your CSV file to an R format, okay, to an R file using this small library called RF. ঠিক আছে? And that's what it does. I hope that makes sense. Clear? So once you convert this into an R file, okay, you have the R file. Now go ahead in Weka and start using the R file to do differences and classification. Now, one might ask, okay, why are we using the Weka? Can't we use Python to do machine learning, classification? Yeah, you can do that. There are machine learning libraries in Python as well. Like one of the libraries we have is called scikit-learn. ঠিক আছে? তাহলে আমাদের Wekaতে যেতেই হবে না. I could use the scikit-learn, and there are other libraries as well which I can use to actually also do prediction. ঠিক আছে? But in some other classes, I'm going to also show you how to use scikit-learn. So this course is not just using only one software to do that. This is just to help you to look at different ways you can do different things. ঠিক আছে? Is it okay? Are we good enough so far? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Great. So now that we understood how to use Weka, how to use, not scikit-learn, how to use Weka, and what else? How to use, Python to convert a CSV file to the R file as well, and stuff like that. So we are good to start doing different sorts of classification using these libraries. So last class, the entire class I spent on, showing you how to build a classifier. In reality, we will not build a classifier, unless this is my own classifier and I had to build from the scratch. Okay, that's why we have libraries. We could use libraries there. Like Weka is one good library that we can use. Scikit-learn is another library. There are other libraries, TensorFlow, PyTorch, you name it. Okay, so there are many libraries that you can use. Okay, now that's there. আজকে তাহলে আমরা আরেকটা ক্লাসিফায়ার নিয়ে একটু কথা বলি. আমরা যেমন 0R নিয়ে কথা বলেছি, 1R নিয়ে কথা বলেছি. Alright, 0R is a baseline classifier. আরেকটা baseline classifier দেখেছেন, what was the name? Randomly generated করে, right? That was another classifier we built in the last class. We saw the 1R classifier. So আজকে we're going to talk about a classifier called the KNN classifier. So শুরু করি. We have a little time, 25 minutes or so. So we just wanted to get started. Shall we start? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the classifier that we're gonna look at today is something called the KNN classifier. Okay? It's a very popular classifier. It's a very simple classifier. It's a great classifier as well. This KNN stands for K nearest neighbor classifier. It's also known as instance-based classifier. Okay, let's write it here. Instance-based classifier. In Weka, if you go to Weka, you should be able to see that this is named as IBK. IBK, instance-based KNN classifier. Because there are different kinds of instance-based classifier. KNN is not the only instance-based classifier. There are other instance-based classifiers as well. KNN is one of them, and this in Weka is known as IBK. Okay, all right. You'll be able to find this as the name IBK. Okay. So, what is an instance-based classifier, or what is instance-based learning? Now we talk about learning. Now, learning means how your machine, how your algorithm learns from the data. Okay, all right. The algorithm has to learn from the data. Now there could be two kinds of learning you can think of in a very broad way. Okay, one is called a lazy learning. The other one is called eager learning. Eager learners are like, they are very interested. They want to learn something. Lazy learners, they learn when it's required to learn. So it turns out KNN is an example of a lazy classifier. Okay, KNN is an example of a lazy classifier. That means it doesn't really learn first, but when it needs to be learned, it learns. Okay. So KNN, or K nearest neighbor, is a lazy classifier. Okay, and there are different types of KNN classifier. This could be distance weighted KNN. Okay, we'll talk about that. But first, let's understand what does a KNN classifier do. So I don't want to go into the details of this maths right now. I'm going to talk about the idea first, because once you understand the idea, I think these mathematical notions are very simple to understand. That okay, all right. Let's try to understand the idea of instance-based learning. Okay, all right. So what's the key idea? The key idea is, in contrast to learning methods, we construct a general explicit description. আচ্ছা দেখি আমরা এখানে দেখি. So training set. So it's KNN classifier. It's a supervised machine learning classifier, right? Okay. So যেহেতু it's a supervised learning algorithm, we have X values. That's the inputs, all the features, and we have the output of X. Clear, Nakina? Is that okay? Does it make sense? Yes. Hello. Are you guys there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you need to talk. Okay. So for example, what does that mean? Let's say when we looked at the weather data set, কয়টা attribute ছিল জানি? 5টা. কি ছিল মনে আছে? Outlook,
Sir, humidity,
temperature,
humidity,
আর কি?
windy, sunny, sir.
play. ঠিক আছে, সানি জানতে আউটলুকের ভিতর। তাহলে যে ফার্স্ট ইনস্ট্যান্স, আউটলুক কিছু একটা, টেম্পারেচার কিছু একটা, হিউমিডিটি কিছু একটা, উইন্ডি কিছু একটা, প্লে কিছু একটা, রাইট? Then we have the second instance. Outlook has one value, temperature has one value, humidity, windy has one value, and play has one value. Am I correct নাকি না? Clear? এরকম ভাবে আমার কাছে ডেটা সেট আছে। Correct? Is that okay নাকি না? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Now we want to make a prediction. প্রেডিকশনটা কিরকম? ধরো এমন একটা জিনিস পেলাম যেখানে আউটলুক হচ্ছে লেটস সে সানি, ওকে, টেম্পারেচার হচ্ছে হাই, or let's make it more interesting, cold, okay, humidity may be normal, okay, আর windy হচ্ছে true বা false, let's make it false. The question হচ্ছে what's the play, yes or no? I want to predict that. That's the whole idea of prediction. Is that okay, Nakina? Yes? ঠিক আছে? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is your training data, and you want to use the training data to make a prediction for this data. Now, this data, we will call it the query data. Let's call it the query data. Okay? That means we want to make a query. What happens for this one? What would be the prediction? Is that clear? Yes? Achha. KNN idea could be simple. Idea ki? If you have a query data, given you have a query instance you want to predict for, what you want to do is you want to first locate the nearest training example of that. তার মানে এটার মতন দেখতে কোনটা সবচেয়ে ক্লোজেস্ট টু দিস ওয়ান, ঠিক আছে? যেটা সবচেয়ে ক্লোজেস্ট, ওটা যেটা আউটপুট, you assign that output to that one because that's the most similar to this one. Is that clear, Nakana? Yes?
Yes, sir.
So this is called using a nearest neighbor method. So you find out যে আমার যে কোয়েরি ডেটা আছে সেটা সবচেয়ে নিয়ারেস্ট নেইবারটা কোনটা, সেটা যে ভ্যালু সেটাই, ঠিক আছে? এখন যদি if you want to make it a little bit more interesting, yeah, I don't want to see only one nearest neighbor. I want to see, let's say 5 nearest neighbor. You know what I mean? What are the 5 nearest neighbor? Nearest neighbor মানছে এই ডেটা, এই কোয়েরি ডেটার মতন কাছাকাছি, which are the 5 instances. Clear নাকি না? Is that okay? So let's say there are hundreds of those instances. You want to find out which are the 5 nearest instances. Am I clear? Is that okay? Yeah? Yes? Let's say একটা nearest neighbor উপর নির্ভর না করে I have taken 5 nearest neighbor. Is that okay নাকি না? কথা কি বোঝা যাচ্ছে? বলতে হবে তো বাবা। Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
আপনারা হঠাৎ করে মিউট হয়ে যান কেন? হ্যাঁ? Look. So this is what I mean. ভালো করে দেখেন. Let's say I'm trying to explain you the idea behind this one with the aid of an example. Let's see. Let's say we have got lots of predictions are yes or no. Let's say the predictions are two things. আমি দুইভাবে ইয়ে করছি. একটা prediction হচ্ছে cross দিয়ে দিচ্ছি, আর একটা হচ্ছে zero দিয়ে দিচ্ছি. Cross zero, cross 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 zero, cross zero, 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 cross zero, zero, cross 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 cross. একটা স্যাম্পল আঁকলাম, ঠিক আছে? ক্রস মিনস ওয়ান ক্লাস, জিরো মিনস অ্যানাদার ক্লাস, ঠিক আছে? আপনার যে কোয়ারি ডেটাটা আসছে, লেটস ইমাজিন দ্যাট কোয়ারি ডেটা ফলস হিয়ার. দিস ইজ ওয়্যার দ্য কোয়ারি ডেটা ইজ. লেট মি মার্ক দ্য কোয়ারি ডেটা উইথ আ কোয়েশ্চেন মার্ক. হোয়াট ডু ইউ থিঙ্ক? এই কোয়ারি ডেটাতে আউটপুটটা কিরকম হওয়া উচিত সে যদি এখানে পড়ে?
No, sir.
Zero. Why zero? Why did you say zero? Because most of the closest ones যেগুলো এটার মতন দেখতে সেগুলো অলমোস্ট সব জিরোস, তাই না? তাহলে isn't it likely to be zeros? Yes. আবার যদি তোমার কোয়ারি ডেটাটা এখানে হয় তাহলে কি হবে?
Cross.
What is it most likely to be? Most likely it's going to be the crosses, because process it is most similar to the process. Okay. What about if it is somewhere here? And let's imagine আমি k nearest neighbor use করছি, where k value হচ্ছে 5. K means we want to see the 5 nearest neighbor. So which are the 5 nearest neighbor? দেখো এটা 5 nearest neighbor করে এটা একটা দুইটা, মেবি এটাও একটা তিনটা, এটাও একটা চারটা, and maybe আরেকটা হচ্ছে এটা পাঁচটা. তাহলে এটা যদি 5 nearest neighbor হয় তাহলে এটার ইয়া কি হবে? What do you think would I predict this as? These are the 5 nearest neighbors, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can do some sort of voting. If I do a voting, what will happen now? Quarter cross or quarter zero? How many crosses are there? There are 3 crosses and there are 2 zeros. Am I right, Nakina? So who's the winner? Cross is the winner. So under this algorithm, I will mark it as cross or predict this as cross. Am I clear, Nakina?
Yes.
Is that understandable? It is understandable, right? আচ্ছা, এখানে অনেক ধরনের, একটু শেষ করি, অনেক ধরনের ভেরিয়েশন আনা যায়. কিরকম ভেরিয়েশন আনা যায়? Another variation could be distance weighted variation. Distance weighted মানে কি? এখানে আমি যে পাঁচটা নিয়ারেস্ট নেইবার নিলাম, ঠিক আছে? You know what I mean? I've taken 5 nearest neighbors. Yes? Yeah. Fine. এখন পাঁচটার ভোট কি ইকুয়ালি আমরা সিলেক্ট নিচ্ছি? ডু দে হ্যাভ ইকুয়াল ইকুয়াল ওয়েটস? ইয়েস, বাট আনইকুয়াল ওয়েটসও নিতে পারি. এমন করতে পারি না এটা সবচেয়ে কাছে যেটা, দিস ওয়ান ইজ মাচ মোর ক্লোজার দ্যান দিস ওয়ান, রাইট নাকি না? তাহলে which one do you think is going to be more closer to this one, this query instance? Isn't this one more closer to that one than that one? Yes or no? Yeah. So এমনও তো আমি একটা কাজ করতে পারি যেটা সবচেয়ে কাছে তার ভোটিং ওয়েটটা বেশি দিতে পারি, আর যারটা একটু দূরে সেও ভোট করছে বা তার ভোটিং ওয়েটটা কম, ঠিক আছে? দেন আই ক্যান অলসো সি হু উইন্স, ঠিক আছে? এবং আই ক্যান অ্যাকচুয়ালি পিক ইট ফ্রম দেয়ার. সো দেয়ার আর various variations here. That's why আমি এখানে বলেছিলাম. So I can once we could also do something called distance weighted k-nearest neighbor as well. ঠিক আছে? That was an example of distance weighted k-nearest neighbor. Is that okay? Yes. আর যদি ডিসটেন্স ওয়েটেড না করি, সবকটা ইকুয়াল রাইটস হচ্ছে, তাহলে ইটস জাস্ট নরমাল ভোটিং. We have seen, and we'll see who wins. What if there is a tie? If there is a tie, just pick one of them randomly. Is that okay, Nakina? Clear? Yeah. Are we good?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Questions? Any questions so far? No? Okay. Great. So we have understood so far what's happening here. Okay. Acha. Now, because we understood k nearest neighbor, we understood what's the nearest neighbor. Nearest neighbor means the one that's the nearest one. We can extend this to understand which is the k nearest neighbor. Here's an example of the k nearest neighbor. So we have got some data over here. You see, some of them are like these are the two classes. So this is one of them, okay, and this is another one of them. Okay, and you see here's the query instance. So we would like to figure out a query instance which class does it belong to. Okay, does it belong to this one or does it belong to this pentagon? It's a pentagon. Is a hexagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a hexagon, right? So we could do, if we are doing 5 is a k nearest neighbor, classify we use with k equals to 5, let's say. So we take the 5 instances, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5 closest instances, and then we can see, okay, unta key. So we can see 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of them are of these, okay, and 1 of them are of these, but যেটা এরকম সেটা খুব কাছে, but doesn't matter. But this is 4 মানে outvotes this one. So this one can then be predicted as this, belonging to this class, right? Is it okay? Yes, understandable?
Yes.
আচ্ছা,
যেটা ওইটা
Sorry?
আপনি যে কাছের যেটা কাছের ইয়াটা হওয়ার ডিসটেন্স অনুযায়ী হলে এটা কাছের ইয়াটা হওয়ার কথা
হ্যাঁ,
বলেন?
হতে পারে এটা খুব কাছে, বাট তুমি যদি একটার উপর ডিপেন্ড করে চুজ করো নাকি একের বেশির উপর ডিপেন্ড করে চুজ করাটা মে বি আ বিট বেটার আইডিয়া, ঠিক আছে, তাই না? ওকে, দ্য প্রবলেম ইজ তুমি যেটা বলছো সেটা হচ্ছে যেটা সবচেয়ে কাছে সেটাই শুধু নেবা। তার মানে এখানে কে এর ভ্যালু কত সিলেক্ট করছো? 1, তাই না? দ্য ওনলি নিয়ারেস্ট নেইবার তুমি যদি দেখছো, তাই না? রাইট? So that would be the answer if you would have selected k to be 1. Am I clear? Is that okay? Yes? আচ্ছা, now একটু আমি বলি, তারপর মানে ask me further questions, ঠিক আছে? Let me clarify. Wait. হ্যাঁ, এখন যদি আমি 5টা না দেখে যেটা সবচেয়ে নিয়ারেস্ট সেটাকে যদি কপি করি, মানে I can do that, but the problem would be this one. Remember, তোমার ডেটা সেট যেটা থাকবে, ডেটা সেট কি সবসময় পারফেক্টলি ফাইন থাকে নাকি ডেটা সেটে নয়েজই থাকতে পারে? নয়েজ তো থাকতে পারে। নয়েজ মানে হচ্ছে এই যে যেটা নিয়ারেস্ট সেটা পাচ্ছ, ইট মাইট জাস্ট বি অ্যান আউটলায়ার, ইট মাইট বি আ রং ভ্যালু, হতে পারে না? তাহলে তুমি রং দিয়ে একটা প্রেডিক্ট করতে পারো, এটাও তো হতে পারে। ইজ দ্যাট রাইট নাকি না? দ্যাট ইজ দ্য রিজন ওয়াই উই আর ইন, can you mute yourself? That is the reason why we go for voting, okay, a few, rather than just relying on only one value. Because when you rely on only one value, then what happens? Then if that one is noisy or incorrect, then your prediction would also be incorrect. Am I clear, Nakina? Is that okay? Yeah. So k nearest neighbor, this is a very good question. K nearest neighbor, what is the appropriate value of k? What should I select as k? What happens if I select the k as just 1? That means based on only the nearest one, I choose that. Well, you can do that, but the disadvantage of that one would be it would give you false result if the data set you're working on is a noisy data set. If there are a lot of wrong values, then it will be extremely influenced by the wrong values. Is it clear now? Okay. What if someone says, okay, k nearest neighbor তাহলে আমি যদি k এর ভ্যালু সিলেক্ট করি as n মানে কি যতগুলো ট্রেনিং ডেটা আছে সবকটাই নিচ্ছি, ঠিক আছে, and then we are doing a voting. What would happen then? সবকটা নিয়ে যদি আমি ভোট করে বের করি যে কে সবচেয়ে বেশি করছে, isn't this then acting like a zero hour classifier? Zero hour classifier কি হয়? যেটা সবচেয়ে মোস্ট ফ্রিকোয়েন্ট সেটাকেই আমি করি, রাইট নাকি না? ক্লিয়ার? ইজ দ্যাট ওকে নাকি না? ডু ইউ রিমেম্বার দ্যাট নাকি না?
জি স্যার।
Yeah, so when you select the k as n is the number of training data, then your KNN will act like a zero hour classifier. And remember, zero hour classifier does not have any predictable power, and therefore this, when you select k to be n, then it will lose its predictability, the power of predictability. So your value of k should ideally not be too small, nor should it be too large. Of course, the next question could come is that then what is the right value of k to use? There is nothing called the right value of k. It varies from one data set to another data set. So that's why আমরা যখন experiment করি, we try with different values of k, and see which one gives us the best, accuracy for the test set. Okay, so that's a way experimentally we can figure it out. Is that clear so far, Nakina? Yes. Are we good? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Acha. Now let me touch upon some more points before I ask you to ask me questions. Okay. There are some more things to consider over here with the KNN classifier. AJ, similarity. How do you calculate this distance? How did I calculate যে ওই ডেটাটা এই ডেটাটা আর এই ডেটাটা কাছে, ডেটা পয়েন্ট আর এই ডেটা পয়েন্টটা কাছাকাছি, এই ডেটা পয়েন্ট আর এই ডেটা পয়েন্ট একটু দূরে দূরে, ঠিক আছে? কারণ তোমার ডেটা সেটের ডেটা ইনস্টেন্সেস গুলো কিরকম আছে, দে আর লাইক ইন প্রত্যেকটা অ্যাট্রিবিউটের ভ্যালুস গুলো আছে, বাট হাউ ডু ইউ ফাইন্ড আউট কোনটা কাছে এবং কোনটা দূরে, ঠিক আছে? That's one thing. How do you measure this distance? How do you find the nearest neighbors? Okay, that's one thing to consider. And the second thing, which I already have discussed a little bit, what's the number and the weight of similar nearest instances? What's the appropriate value of k that you should choose? Now, the value of k, if it is too small, the problem is if the data set is noisy, okay, this is not going to be good. And if the value of k is too large, let's say is equal to the number of training samples, then it's going to behave like a zero classifier and it's going to lose its power of predictability. Right, Nakina? Okay. Now let's talk about AJ distance measure. Now there are many ways to measure distance. One distance measurement you already know is something called Euclidean distance. Monad say Euclidean distance from basic coordinate geometry. Yeah. So if you have 2 points, imagine. Okay, and these 2 points are like has the coordinates, let's say x1 y1, and this has the coordinates x2 y2. Then the distance between them, the Euclidean distance between them, so I'll write it as Euclidean, okay. In coordinate geometry you just write distance, okay, but it's the Euclidean distance. This is given by the formula x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square and root over. Is that okay? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I could use something called Euclidean distance. There are other distance metrics as well. Like for example, there's something called Manhattan distance. There's something called Chebyshev distance. But এই দুটো একটু next class হয়তো আমি দেখিয়ে দিব। But যেহেতু একটা distance কথা বললাম, let me show you how do you use that distance. Now you say, আচ্ছা coordinate geometry তে তো কেমনে ইউজ করব সেটা বুঝতাম, কিন্তু একটা ডেটা সেট থেকে কেমনে বের করব? How do you find this out? Let me show you that example. Let's say here. Now here are few things here. Can you see? Age. Someone's age. Loan. কত টাকা লোনের জন্য অ্যাপ্লাই করেছে, আগে ডিফল্টটা ছিল কিনা, নো অর ইয়েস, ঠিক আছে? এবং we'll talk about this distance, don't worry, ঠিক আছে? Okay. এবং what we want to do, this is a query instance. This is a query instance. I want to see a particular, this is my training set. So these are my training set. I will use this training set to make a model. এবং মডেলটা বানাবার পর কি করব, এই যে কোয়েরি ইনস্ট্যান্সের জন্য টেস্ট করব, টেস্ট করে I want to make a prediction. This is the prediction. Okay, what is the prediction? Prediction could be no or yes. Am I correct নাকি না? No মানে কি, তার যে লোনের জন্য অ্যাপ্লাই করেছে সেটা হলো, রিজেক্টেড হলো, আর ইয়েস হলে লোনের জন্য যে অ্যাপ্লিকেশন দেওয়া হলো that has been approved. Is that okay নাকি না? Clear? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's say আমি এই পার্টিকুলার স্যাম্পলের জন্য দেখতে চাই, let's say আমরা KNN classifier ইউজ করতে চাই, just to keep things simple. Let's say আমরা k value 3 choose করলাম, so we want to find out the 3 closest ones. So what can I say if we're using the Euclidean distance? Formula is x1 minus y1 whole square plus x2 minus y2 whole square. So এটা আমার query instance. So প্রত্যেকটার সাথে, let's say for প্রথমটা, this is the first instance, প্রথমটার সাথে এই লাস্টেরটা ডিসটেন্স মেজার করতে হবে। The x1 minus xy1, well x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square. এখানে x1 minus y1 লাগছে কারণ এটাকে x1 বলছে আর এটাকে y1 বলছে, এই ডেটা পয়েন্ট। যাই হোক, আমার এটা দেখেন, তাহলে এটা কি হবে, এটার সাথে এটা ডিসটেন্স কি হবে, 48 minus 25 whole square, রাইট নাকি না? ক্লিয়ার? এগ্রিড? প্লাস আরেকটা কি এখানে $142,000 মাইনাস আর ওটারটা কি $40,000, রাইট নাকি না? ইয়েস, whole square and root over. That would be the distance between this square instance and this instance. Am I correct নাকি না? Clear? Is that okay? Yes?
Yes, sir.
এবং এটা ভ্যালু হচ্ছে actually 102,000. That's it. So for each instances you find the distance with the query instance, which is 82,000, next one is 62,000 and so on. Now আমি যদি KNN classification algorithm use করতে চাই with k equals to 3, so we'll have to find the three closest one. So the three smallest one হচ্ছে first one হচ্ছে এইটা, second one হচ্ছে এইটা, আর third one হচ্ছে এইটা, correct নাকি না? So আমি এটার উপর বেস করে করলে first one টা হচ্ছে yes আসছে, second one এটা হচ্ছে no, আর third one এটা হচ্ছে yes. Yes, yes and no, who is the winner?
Yes.
Yes. So that's how we make the prediction that this is yes. So it should be approved. Is that clear, Nakina? So far so good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So someone had a question. If you have a question, let me know now.
So যখন আপনি বলতেছিলেন কি মানে ভ্যালু কত হবে আর কি ডাটা সেটের উপর নির্ভর করে এরকম বলতেছিলেন, এটা কি মানে ডাটা সেটের যে ডাটার ভ্যালু গুলো আছে ওইটার মানে
No, it depends on a lot of things. কারণ একটা ডেটা সেটে কতটুকু নয়েজিনেস আছে I do not know. ঠিক আছে? In fact, the one who collected the data set তার জন্য এটা বলা খুব difficult. ঠিক আছে? Is it clear? So it depends on a lot of things. ঠিক আছে? It depends on how sparse the data is, how close the data is. It depends on if there is, let's imagine, if there is let's say for example, yes এর সংখ্যা অনেক বেশি কিন্তু no সংখ্যা অনেক কম, এমন তো হতে পারে, ইমব্যালেন্স ডেটা সেট থাকতে পারে. It depends on a lot of things about a data set. তার জন্য যেহেতু এক একটা ডেটা সেট এক এক রকম, the best way to do that is we do not actually say যে এই k এর ভ্যালুর জন্য এরকম ডেটা সেটে এটা ভালো হবে, although some people do some experiments on that, but the obvious way of doing that is যে কোনো ডেটা সেট নিয়ে try it out with different values of k and figure out for which one is performing the best. ঠিক আছে? That's the most appropriate value of k for that particular data set. Am I clear, Nakina? Is that okay? Because there's so many things about the data set that would affect the appropriate choice of k. And at many times, even the person who is collecting the data set, he also doesn't know all those properties. It's almost difficult to say how noisy the data set is and things like that. Yeah? Okay. Did I answer my question? Is that clear?
Yes.
Any other questions? Nakina, we are fine with the KNN classifier. Okay. There is one problem with this approach. Can anyone tell me? Approachটা প্রবলেম হচ্ছে যদি খেয়াল করে দেখেন এখানে 48 minus 25 এর ডিফারেন্সটা কত ছোট না 142,000 minus 40,000 এর ডিফারেন্সটা ছোট, কোনটা? Which one is smaller?
40.
Right. তার মানে আমি এইজের জন্য যে ডিফারেন্সটা বের করছি and squaring that would have a smaller impact than the loan. ক্লিয়ার নাকি না? তাহলে এই ক্লাসিফায়ারটা একটা বায়াস ক্লাসিফায়ার হয়ে গেল না, যে এটা শুধু লোন অ্যাট্রিবিউটটাকে বেশি প্রাধান্য দিল এবং এইচ অ্যাট্রিবিউটটাকে ইজ গিভিং এ স্মলার ওয়েট. এম আই রাইট নাকি না? বিকজ এইচ এর রেঞ্জেস গুলো স্মল আছে আর লোনের ভ্যালুস গুলো অনেক লার্জার আছে. ইয়েস? ওকে, সো দ্য ডিফারেন্স এন্ড দ্য স্কোয়ার অফ দ্যাট উড অলসো বি ভেরি লার্জ. রাইট নাকি না? ক্লিয়ার?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And that is a problem because your classifier is now mane mone hocche it's working fine, but you see the nature of the classifier, if you investigate you see that it is more biased towards loan attribute than the age attribute. Okay, so এমনও হতে পারে ডিফারেন্স গুলো যদি এত বেশি হয় লোনে যে age even doesn't matter, এমন তো হয়ে যেতে পারে. রাইট নাকি না? ক্লিয়ার? এই পুরোপুরি লোনের উপর নির্ভর করে হচ্ছে. রাইট নাকি না? হতে পারে না? হতে পারে. Yes, clear? So how can we actually improve that so that I do not want that it to actually make a judgment based on only this attribute, but rather on other attributes as well? How can I do that? So the other way I could do that is amra erokom specific a value gulo na niye I would normalize all these values between 0 and 1. ঠিক আছে, সবকটাকে যদি নর্মালাইজ করি then it will be different, like here. So this is the formula for normalizing it. So প্রত্যেকটা নর্মালাইজ ভ্যালু, যে ভ্যালুটা নিচ্ছি x মাইনাস এটা মিনিমাম ভ্যালু ডিভাইড বাই ম্যাক্স মাইনাস মিনিমাম। সো এখানে ছিল লেটস সে ফার্স্ট ওয়ান ইজ 25, সো এটাকে যদি আমি চেঞ্জ করতে যাই তাহলে x হচ্ছে 25 মাইনাস মিনিমাম, এই 25 থেকে অল দিস হোয়াটস দ্য স্মলেস্ট ভ্যালু, বলেন তো এখানে ছোট সবচেয়ে কত? I guess 20 নাকি 20 divided by max minus min, max কত, maximum value কত, is it 60? I think so, right? Again 60 minus mean কত, 20. So if I do that, this would be 25 minus 20 is 5, and this is 20 minus 60 minus 20 is 40. That means this is 1/8. That means this is 0.125 normal. And you see this value is now 0.15. The a করে যদি আমি প্রত্যেকটার উপর করি দেখো all these values lies between 0 and 1 এবং সরি থেকে এইটা পর্যন্ত 0 and 1, আবার এই লোনের উপরে যদি একই ইউজ করি দেখো they all lie between 0 and 1. এখন যদি আমি KNN ইউজ করি তাহলে যেহেতু all of them lies between 0 and 1, তাহলে মানে এমন হবে না যে লোনকে বেশি প্রাধান্য দেওয়া আছে, now they would be given equal importance. Can I see that নাকি না? Yes. So one good thing to do is whenever you're using as KNN classifier, you should first actually normalize them. Okay, using this formula, or there are other techniques to normalize as well. And this is the query instance. Query instance can normalize column. Now you calculate the distance, and now if you see that, you will this time see that the closest ones are different. Okay, you see that the closest one is actually this one. আগে এইটা ক্লোজেস্ট ছিলই না, এটা আসি না, ফার্স্ট তিনটা ক্লোজেস্ট এর মধ্যে ছিল না, but now this is the closest one. You see what I mean by that নাকি না? Clear? Is that okay? Are we good?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I would like to stop over here. Okay, I think we're running out of time, so we'll stop over here. Okay, so I hope KNN classifier is okay. Next class I'm going to I2 KNN classifier because there are other distance metrics as well other than Euclidean distance. There are distance metrics like Manhattan distance, Chebyshev distance. So what these are, we would like to talk, and we would like to also start with something called decision tree classifier. Okay, so if there is no question, I'll stop over here. Okay, I'll stop the recording.